Hey, okay, now I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Chris, it's great to catch up with you, man. I was so happy to see Lisa Reedy send a package and opening it up and finding this in it was very, very nice. I was very happy.
Yeah, I'm excited to get it out. It's been, man, about a year and a half in the making. So,
You know, the one thing that's always emblematic of how you roll is that you have a rawness to you. You're good with words, you get to the jugular really good, whether it's a Facebook post or it's liner notes. And you were crystal clear with this. I could feel this kind of wave of you describing going through the pandemic and then losing Everett and Dr. Lonnie and all of those things that became an ultimate question in your mind, which was, am I a musician? So you kind of probably hit on a lot of mental health things that were going on in the jazz community. So I see After Dark being kind of both emblematic of nighttime owlness and also you coming out of something now with this cathartic project. So talk to me a
absolutely.
little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in the liner notes, I mean, the project really just came out of a need to feel like I was still a musician. I mean, and especially after Everett passed, it kind of dawned on me, like, especially in Kansas City, there's only a couple of us that are really carrying on this torch of jazz organ. And of the couple of us, I'm really the only um, quote unquote disciple of his, because I'm the only one that studied with him directly. And so, this album was kind of a combination of things in that there was some material that we had been playing for a few years. And also that I just needed to get in the studio and do a straight ahead jazz record. It had been nearly 10 years since I had put out Peregrination, was the last kind of straight ahead record that I did. And I did some Boogaloo 7 things in between that, but it was a case of like, man, I just need to get in and do like a straight ahead swinging organ record.
And you did.
And man, and the guys that I had on it sure delivered.
Yeah, hearing Brett on there with the baritone, it's just not something that's front and center. But man, that guttural get in there and just hit behind the organ, and with John at the skins and just the whole group. Just I could feel like you guys were really having a good conversation.
The Barry out front thing is kind of a niche format that I really like. It's been on a few records, most notably the first two George Benson solo records were in that format with Ronnie Cuber on Barry up front. Um, and, Lonnie Smith on organ. So it's, drums, organ, Barry sax, and guitar. And I've always loved that sound because you have the deep, rich kind of honk of the Barry, but then you have the guitar that can play an octave above that, good double the lines, and you've got the organ that can scream, and it's just really kind of a funky, gritty texture to have in a quartet.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing I was thinking, as lonely as you probably felt after Everett left and Dr. Lonnie Smith, I'm curious, did you ever, under their tutelage, ever have conversations with them about when their heroes left and how vulnerable they felt and how they overcame big things in their lives?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I definitely remember talking to Everett about the way he felt when Jimmy Smith passed, and when Jimmy McGriff passed when I was living in New York, so I didn't get to talk to Everett a lot about that. But and then I spoke to Lonnie a lot about his just kind of contemporaries passing on, and just his wish of leaving something behind. And so that definitely started weighing on me heavy as those two guys passed, is like thinking about, okay, well, what am I leaving behind eventually? I'm prayerfully going to stick around for a lot longer. But you get to a point in life where you start thinking like, what's my legacy going to be? And so this is definitely part of that too.
So did you have any like conversations in your head or any feelings of those two talking to you during this process of going through the pandemic and not having the work and trying to figure out where you were going?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, Everett, I always hear his voice in my head. whether it be while I'm playing or just, whatever. I especially hear him always saying, "Get on it." If I'm kind of noodling around, playing a solo, I hear him in the back of my head. He said, "Get on it," and then I got to really turn it on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what are you doing as far as like promoting this live, doing shows? What's going on with you?
Well, we haven't scheduled anything yet as far as CD release show because all of us are just busy, which is a great problem to have.
Yeah.
So right now it's just kind of a soft release, I guess. You mentioned Lisa; she's doing a great job promoting it already, and it's coming out on my buddy Corey Weeds' label, Cellar Live or Cellar Music. So it's nice to have some support behind it. The last few releases that I've done have all been basically self-released, and I'm a big control freak. So this record really has been an exercise in relinquishing some control. I always like mixing and recording my own things because I have a vision of how I want them to sound, and just due to time and lack of inspiration, I turned this over to Dwayne at Weights and Measures to record and mix, and he knocked it out of the park. And then I turned it over to Corey to put it out, and they knocked it out of the park with their art department, and just the whole process has been great. I'm really happy to have it out and not have to do a lot of that work myself.
The one thing when I opened this up, I was real giddy to get out. We were getting ready to drive and we popped it in, and I looked down and I was like, Cellar Live. And Amanda was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, everything that comes out on Cellar Live is spectacular. Like Corey,
Yeah.
I mean everything. Like I know when Cellar Live is on the front, I'm gonna pop it in and it's just gonna boom, it's gonna blast me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
they've been doing that for 20 years. I mean, it.
And what a beacon. I mean, from the club that he had to doing what he does, it's like he himself, his albums, I mean, he is just an absolute powerhouse.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite saxophone players alive, and he's a great friend, and he's a knucklehead. I love the
guy. You got all the combinations there. So, it's weird. The other day, and this is strange, just a personal note, somebody was asking me about just the interview process. Like what was your first interview? And I was sitting here and I was thinking it was either you or Herman. And then it was that afternoon that this album came through. And I think I said Herman, but I should have said you, because I think you were one of the very first interviews that I ever did on the show. And then all of a sudden your album comes in and I'm like, that is so weird how life works.
It's a sign. What? Where are you now, man?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So listen, don't blame me is all I'm saying.
No. I'm gonna hold you up. And that's the thing about it. It's like, the one thing too I wanted to ask you about in regards to the pandemic, as hard as it was, there was this fear because people in big cities were moving out, and even talking to Kansas City cats, like everything was in this swing motion in March of 2020. And there was this fear that things weren't going to come back the way that they weren't going to come back in a magnanimous way. But it seems like the community's stronger than ever now. What's your take on it?
I think it's come back very ferociously. I don't think it came back the same way that it was, for better or for worse. I think the landscape's just different. I think we're still lacking some outputs in Kansas City that I was hoping we would have.
Yeah.
But to a large degree, there's still a lot of work, and it's still a great place to make a living as a musician. So,
yeah,
these things come in waves, and I've been doing this now for 19 years professionally, and I've seen it go in waves.
You've been through it.
Yeah. So.
You certainly have. Well, I got to tell you, man, it's so triumphant to see the album out. Where is the best place for people to go pick it up and to find out about anything that might happen live or anything in your world?
Well, to pick it up right now, I guess probably the best place is on the Bandcamp site. I think it's chrishazelton.bandcamp.com. they'll charge you in Canadian dollars and then ship it direct to your door.
Okay.
um, and then as far as performances go, I don't have anything, like I said, I don't have anything scheduled for this particular group as of yet, but we're working on a release show probably for late September or early October.
Okay.
And then in the meantime, I'm at the ship at least once a month. I'm at Corvino usually once a month. I've got some Blue Room dates for the next couple of months. So I'm kind of here, there, and everywhere.
So speaking of live shows, I still remember when that Twinkle and Glow of the Royals, when they were really good, you did that live set and I was in the crowd when you were doing it with Boogaloo. So anybody out there that's curious about what a live gig is going to be like from you, it's going to be good. CD release party is going to be something that people are going to want to get involved with for sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, Chris, dude, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Best of luck with this release, and I look forward to many more.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Cool, man. Have a good day.